You talked, Lynyetta, earlier about finding meaning in
Yeah.
this time. And one of the meanings that I've held on to is like, this is uncomfortable, and this is what growth looks like. This is what
Mm.
happens when we are in the growing process, especially, and you mentioned post-traumatic growth. Do you want to talk a little bit about how we grow or how we find meaning?
Yeah. So post-traumatic growth really it comes, of course, out of traumatology. And it's this idea that when people experience trauma, there's a certain subset of that population that actually comes out in the other end feeling stronger and wiser and more fortified as a result of it. And that usually manifests in the form of maybe they're more resilient. They feel genuinely like they have more knowledge. They are more appreciative, have more gratitude, things like that, you know? So, and they're just closer to the people around them. And I think this experiences like these, like the pandemic we're going through, is a really good opportunity to set ourselves up for that type of growth. Um, and funny enough, the ways that you can set yourself up, the same things that build resilience, which resilience and post-traumatic growth are a little different from each other. So if resilience is that thing that helps us jump back in the window of tolerance, post-traumatic growth would be that thing that helped us to widen the frame of the window. So in other words, it's it's very stable. It helps us to stretch ourselves so that we can incorporate new skills and strengths and resources into our life and into our relationships so that they're stronger for it as a result of, a challenging experience that we've had. So some of the ways that you build resilience can be exactly the same ways that you would build growth or that you would grow after experiencing something difficult, as big as a trauma or a pandemic or whatever. And it involves, again, the emotional regulation piece. It involves being able to get clear on your thoughts, get clear on the stories you're telling yourself, reframe some of those, just being aware of them and reframing them. It involves being aware of your emotions, what you're feeling. A lot of this can fit into the calm category, but a lot of self-compassion. A lot of self-compassion. It's really, and self-appreciation is another piece that's in there. Of course, the self-efficacy piece, feeling like we're in control, because when people experience trauma, that's usually the first thing to go, a sense of control. So feeling out, where am I in control? Having gratitude for those types of things. And then also, of course, the social support, the community, it shows up everywhere, everywhere. Any of the research you look on and anything in the resiliency growth area, social support and community are absolutely going to be there. Now, not just any kind of community, okay? A growth enhancing community, a community that will help you feel better about yourself and that will support you. And like you two were saying with each other, that will say, I've got you, I'm going to support you, do what you need to do, I'm holding your hand, I'm lifting you up, that type of community. I understand you, right? So being able to associate yourself with those types of communities and being able to give back to a community like that. So as we're in this experience, being able to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for that by doing things like, if you haven't meditated before, meditate. And it doesn't necessarily have to be sitting down, crossing your legs and oming. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do walking meditation or listening to music or things like that. There are a lot of different ways to do it. Find what works for you and just start that emotion. You could do 5 minutes, and just start that emotional regulation process. Another thing that I was just talking to a client about recently is, taking 5 deep breaths whenever you do something. So like whenever you wash your hands, take 5 deep breaths. Whenever you flush a toilet, take 5 deep breaths, pick up your phone, take 5 deep breaths, So you're associating that neural regulation process with something that you do often, right? And then making sure again that you're getting into that space of being able to feel more confident and be aware of what you're in control with. And then in terms of family and relationships, that's where I jam. That's what I love. This is a perfect time for us to fall back on our old patterns. those things that we've worked so hard to overcome, and I'm not going to yell anymore, I'm not going to shut down with my husband, all that stuff. When we get into these high stress pressure cooker environments where we're around each other all day, every freaking day, it can get really, really overwhelming. But even switching that a little bit and starting to look at that as like, okay, maybe this is a gift, right? Because I am in this high pressure situation. So when I'm triggered, instead of reacting immediately, maybe stopping, taking a breath and saying, oh, wait a minute, what can I learn from this in this moment? If this trigger were a teacher, what would it be teaching me? What within me needs to be healed or honored, as I like to say, right? So even just committing or setting the intention to get more curious about your reactions and interactions that you have with people as we're in this sort of microscopic space with everybody. Just being able to say, you know what, I'm gonna use this time to get clearer about where I am in this relationship and how I can shift or be different or show up stronger or in a different way that makes me more proud, whether it be with my child, with my husband, whomever.